The $93 billion a year number. That has been one of the most quoted price tags in infrastructure investment circles. But in March, the African Development Bank revised that estimate to anywhere between $130 to $170 billion a year. The ongoing water crisis in Cape Town is a stark reminder of just how neglected water infrastructure has been for decades across Africa, and these estimates reflect that. Correcting that problem across the continent to give everyone access to clean water and proper sanitation, according to the bank estimates, will cost at least $56 billion a year. You want to achieve universal electricity access? That's another $35 to $50 billion a year over the next 7 years. More and better roads, rail lines, ports, airports. Your starting price is $35 billion a year. So, over 600 million Africans right now still have no access to power. But if the goal is to expand power access, will any means of generation get funding, even if it's nuclear power plants or even coal?
So we will fund all energy projects, but not nuclear energy. And by and large, the threshold for us to consider financing coal-fired energy projects is pretty high. There has to be really a compelling case. The country must be coal producer, it must be the least cost alternative, it must be a low-income country.
There has been, on the other hand, no shortage of capital, both public and private, pouring into expanding broadband internet access across the continent. But as demand for data expands, should building networks be left to the private sector alone? The answer to that depends on who you ask.
For me, governments should not build networks and even less operate networks. I mean, they're not good at it. And if you look at countries that have done it, you often have countries, including the country we're in right now, that have significant capacity that has been laid, like thousands of kilometers of fiber optic that is not being managed or not being managed effectively.
In Africa, there was 3 or 4 years between 3G and 4G. In Europe, that's taken 10 years. That means clearly that we have to invest a lot in a very short time to have a good answer to the expectation of the population. That means that the future is clearly to develop cooperation models with partners, but also between operators. A strong conviction of Orange is to propose to all countries where we are operators to open our networks and to share the new investments. It's the only method to be able to propose competitive prices, high levels of investment and profitability.
So then, the argument over who can and who should build and run some kinds of infrastructure will certainly continue, but the immediate problem is one of matching available capital to existing demand. The bank aims to partially solve that problem with the Africa Investment Forum. It's an annual event focusing purely on bankable infrastructure projects. The first of those will be held in early November in Johannesburg, South Africa. Ramah, Nyang, CGTN.